There's definitely a difference in the U.S. economy now versus just a year ago. We're going to continue that discussion and get into a lot of other areas as well with our next guest. He is Lee Schalk, Senior Vice President for Policy of the American Legislative Exchange Council. Lee, welcome back to the program. Welcome back to the station. Great to have you here live.
Thanks for having me back, Tim and Senator Schroer. It's great to be with both of you. And as always, an ALEC meeting, it's always a patriotic shot of adrenaline.
It sure is. It sure is. Now, Lee, I know very well ALEC is a nonpartisan, multi-partisan organization. But Lee, as someone who studies the economy as you do so well, there's a big difference between what's going on right now in the U.S. economy under this administration and under the leadership of so many free market, limited government, federalism-minded governors in the states than just a year ago, right?
100%. And of course, we're coming right off of this incredible victory with the big, beautiful bill getting signed into law on July 4th. But we're here, we're talking about all kinds of victories and momentums that have been happening at the state level. So we've got 1,500 people who are going to leave this meeting, fan out across the country, and take some great policy solutions back home. The other thing that's been so fun this week, I think, is how the White House administration, I mean, like we've never seen this before. They put such a priority and an emphasis on the states. They truly believe in federalism. We've seen that play out this week.
We even saw it last week when Tim and I had the opportunity to go to the White House, an invitation by Will Scharf, Alex Meyer, Donald Trump. And we got to listen to the entirety of the cabinet secretaries that came in and discussed that very point. Have you ever seen any other administration? You guys were on the 52nd annual ALEC convention, older than all of us. Tim, you're only 29 years old, so you can associate. But have you ever seen any other presidential administration reaching back out to the states in this manner like our founders intended?
No, I haven't. And that all that credit goes to President Trump. Like I said, this emphasis on the states. I mean, he wants to hear from you guys. The fact that he flew in a huge group of Missouri legislators to the White House
is incredible.
He's doing that with all kinds of states. And another thing, I think this entire story is not reported on. People don't talk about it. He's got 5 cabinet secretaries who were involved with ALEC when they served as state legislators. Wow. So he's got a cabinet that understands the trouble and the problems that the states are facing. And I think that's exactly what you're seeing play out. A great example would be Kristi Noem. You know, she understands every state is a border state, having served as a governor and a state legislator in South Dakota. You're seeing folks like RFK getting out doing events in state capitals. And so it's incredibly refreshing. I mean, not to mention Linda McMahon, Secretary McMahon, who is here with us this week.
Man, and it was like, she was a rock star. I've been following her for a very long time because I was a wrestling fan growing up. Didn't know that she was just this incredible conservative as she is. But yeah, we got to see Vivek Ramaswamy give a great speech today. Do you think with all of this momentum and all of these big wins that we're racking up, we just saw the resurgence bill today was passed by the Senate. So PBS, no more, funded by tax dollars. There's so many incredible wins. Do you think that's why ALEC is villainized by the left, and they make up these horror stories that, you've got puppet masters here holding us by gunpoint, telling us what we have to file, or else you guys are going to spend millions of dollars against us. We've illustrated what we truly do here with a conversation with Ben Brown. But do you think that's why we're villainized so much, is because we're winning?
Yeah, I think when the left comes after you with that intensity, it means you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And ALEC, we've been around for 52 years. This is the place. This is the incubator of policy solutions that are changing the country. And, you see, like I said, you see these state legislators, folks that come to ALEC, they bring their ideas, they're learning, but they're taking them with them back home. And the other thing I'll say is with the big, beautiful bill, getting back to that, we had 630 ALEC members, state legislators, sign a letter to Congress. And Congress responded to that voice to make the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent. And that is what's going to create rocket fuel for the U.S. economy.
Yeah, Lee, this Trump administration seems to recognize that we need to get back to the basics of how and why the country was founded in the first place. This spirit of free enterprise, free markets, limited government, federalism. And they seem to understand that in order to have a true growth economy again, which we seem to definitely be at the beginning stages of experiencing again, we need to have a less federal government-centric economy and one that is more decentralized where the states take the lead. And that's where ALEC comes in, right?
Well, and it's because the states created the federal government, not the other way around. And that's what ALEC truly believes in. We understand the founders, how they set up our country. And, we're celebrating that with the 250th anniversary right around the corner.
I was going to say, talk a little bit about the display of our founders, because there are a lot of founders, and I could overhear different legislators or attendees talking about different founders they had no clue. And with PragerU utilizing AI in the right way, and giving the story of every single founder, talk a little bit about how that was important for you guys to bring to the 52nd annual convention.
Yeah, well, you talk about things that would probably tick off the left. I think if they saw some of these displays of the founding fathers, they'd run for the hills. But you're right. What a cool use of AI to recreate these videos.
It's an amazing exhibit. Describe that a little bit.
Yeah, so we've got videos, AI videos of like Benjamin Franklin, for example, talking about the lead up to the founding of the country and what he was going through at that time. And so we've got these videos being projected on the wall. You can scan QR codes and get it on your phone. And what's fun is that so many state legislators here are going to take these back to their state capitals, and you're going to see this appear throughout the country. And so, that's another key part of ALEC is civics education, making sure that future generations understand these founding principles.
And that's so vitally important, because I grabbed a little flyer here that talks about the 13 original American states, the different signers, and Lee, I know you've seen my website, 13rootsapparel.com,
yes,
which goes back to the heart of these 13 colonies. But this display is something that I'm going to go back and show my girls, my 10 and 7-year-old girls, about history and why we were founded and why we were fighting the fights that we did back then.
Well, and I have to say, can you imagine the 250th celebration if Kamala Harris had won the election? I mean, thank God that we have President Trump because we're doing this right. And so ALEC is proud to partner with the White House and with PragerU to make this happen.
Indeed. Lee, you mentioned this earlier. We had the Secretary of Education. We had Linda McMahon here yesterday. Lee, you can't have a growth economy, many would argue, without an educated citizenry, and you can't have an educated citizenry when kids are confined to the zip code in which they grew up in, whether they're in a failing school or not. So how important school choice and the intersection of this Trump administration with the leaders in the states?
Yeah, I think Secretary McMahon said it best on the main stage at the meeting. We can't let kids be trapped in failing schools. And she is showcasing the fact that 17 states now around the country have universal education freedom.
Amazing.
I know that's something that's really important to you guys in Missouri.
Yeah. Well, and we finally have a governor, too, who's talking about the things we've been discussing for years down here at ALEC conventions. Tax cuts, how important they are. Stephen Moore, he had kind of bombarded us earlier when we were discussing he's going to have a podcast here on NewsTalkSTL. But school choice, tax cuts, we finally have a governor who, whether he was your first, second, or third choice in the state of Missouri, he's talking the right things that we've seen other states through ALEC. When you implement these, the changes will come and the success will come. Are there any other states that are similarly situated, like Missouri, that just needed the right governor or just needed a change here or there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, right here in Indiana, I think Governor Braun is carrying the torch.
Talk about Governor Braun. He's awesome.
Yeah, Governor Braun's incredible. I mean, having served in the U.S. Senate, he was always an ALEC guy. He loves rich states, poor states. And we've seen Indiana go from, I think, 24th for economic outlook now to number 3 in the country.
Wow.
So I think they're threatening to come up to number 1.
If you walk around downtown, it's very telling. Comparing this to downtown St. Louis, which I love the history of St. Louis, but you can't walk around the city of downtown to St. Louis like you can Indianapolis, like what Tim and I did last night.
Well, and I'll just add too, I mean, for Missouri, I'm so excited for you guys to have that governor that is talking about eliminating the income tax.
Amazing.
And your leadership in the Senate and just this growing group of legislators that are saying the same thing. We've seen more than half of states in the last 5 years cut income tax rates. Yeah. A lot of them have flattened their tax structures, and that is going to be a huge driver of economic growth. There's a huge competition going on out there.
And Lee, and by the way, folks, we're speaking with Lee Schalk. He is the Senior Vice President of Policy of ALEC. ALEC, very transparent. Look them up online. You can check them out. ALEC.org. ALEC.org. Lee, to prove the point as to how nonpartisan, multipartisan ALEC is, this isn't just a vast right-wing conspiracy, right? Because you all outreach to the blue states as well. You've started an entire academy series, the Blue State Academy series, because you want to prove to the blue states that with the right leadership, they can be successful just as much as Texas, Florida, Tennessee, the Carolinas, and others, but they have to be willing to adopt those ALEC-minded principles and policies, right?
Spot on. We've got friends here this week from Illinois, from New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island. And so I think that's critically important. I think for these guys, these men and women, they're going back home with a lot of great ideas and re-energized. But you're right. They're watching so many people move out of their states due to bad policy decisions.
Well, and it's not just, taxes or education. One of the things that I was discussing earlier was a couple years ago, I'm zeroing on AI and how it's not going anywhere, and we have to embrace it. We have to harness it. And this is one of the big discussions that ALEC has been leading for several years now on energy production and energy choice and freedom and AI. Just kind of talk about what we're seeing in the United States, the big competition to harness that instead of India, China, or some of those that aren't our allies.
Yeah, I mean, in the U.S., we want to make sure we're leading on this emerging technology, but at the same time, there's such great demands for energy to run and power this, power these AI tools. And so at ALEC, we want to make sure that in order to win that race, we're taking that light touch approach. And so those are some of the key conversations happening here at the ALEC meeting.
Are there any states that you can see are doing it the right way? Because we've got a discussion that we're going to air on Sunday with Mike Koslow from the 108th District in St. Charles County on nuclear production, nuclear energy, and kind of advancing AI. Are there any states that are kind of leading in the right direction?
Yeah, I think it's a little early on that, but we're seeing a huge contrast because you'll see your California or your Minnesota or some of these really deep blue states, they're trying to take a really heavy-handed approach. And so that's where ALEC comes in to educate on these best practices.
Where can people go to find out more about ALEC or the municipal level? I know we had Mike Archer here from the St. Louis County Council. Where can people go to find out more about the different task forces and everything that ALEC is touching?
Yeah, ALEC.org is the place to go, and you can see all the issue areas we cover, including our American City County Exchange, which is focused on the local government.
Hey, Lee, before we let you go, of course, we've talked about all the bread and butter issues, the tax policy, the regulatory framework, such and so forth. ALEC always has really eclectic, unique things at these giant annual meetings. What's been one of the most interesting things that you've seen or most fascinating or funny things you've seen here this week?
Well, can I just say the Indy car? Have people talked about that?
Yeah, the Indy car.
I mean, to see the Indy car with the ALEC logo plastered over it, I mean, that's got to take
I've got a picture of Frank I've got to send to Joey V to push out there because there's an actual Indy car downstairs that people can go. I don't know if everybody can see on the live stream here. But it's incredible. We're going to be in Dallas in a couple months at the winter meeting. Mm-hmm. What else is on the agenda?
Yeah, exactly right. December we'll be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then next year we'll head to Orlando for the annual meeting.
I'm excited.
But we've got events throughout the year.
We've got the academies throughout the year.
We're fanning out across the country. I mean, we'll be in Montana. We were just in Nashville, Tennessee. We'll be in Santa Barbara. Yeah. So we're going everywhere.
The Reagan Ranch is probably the coolest, most educational tax academy that I was at several years ago. And it's kind of like they just froze it in time. They froze it in the 80s with Nancy and Ronald Reagan. You learn a lot about taxes. You learn a lot about how to make America great again.
That's right. And, we've got alums that have attended that academy that are now serving in Congress. Yeah. ALEC's got over 100 members in the current Congress. And again, this is a great training ground. We hope that folks are having a blast here at the meeting, but they're going to go out and change the country.
It is fantastic. You guys are doing such a great job, Lee. I know you're really busy. Thanks so much for stopping by and spending some time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. Lee Schalk there, Senior Vice President for Policy at the American Legislative Exchange Council.